Hello, everyone. How you doing? Hope you're doing well this Wednesday afternoon UK time. My name is Carl. I'm here on behalf of the TEFL org to do this live webinar where we're going to talk a bit about teaching adult learners. So if that's the sort of thing that you're interested in, teaching English as a foreign language to adult learners, then hopefully this is the webinar for you. This is a live webinar. So basically we're going out on LinkedIn, we're going out on YouTube, we are going out on Facebook as well. So if you have any questions, any comments, if you put them into the chat, they will come up on my screen. And Alan, who is monitoring the chat, will either get in with a question, will answer it before I do, or he'll send you a link or something like that to let you get your question answered. Also, please do let us know where you are in the world. That's always good to hear and good to see. I'm in Northern Ireland, where I work as an online teacher. I work as an online English examiner, and I work as a teacher trainer for the TEFL org. So if you want to come and spend a weekend on a practical course somewhere in Ireland, you might get to spend the weekend with me. But we also offer courses all over the place, not just in Ireland. If you go on our website, TEFL.org, you will see the hellos are coming in. It's great to see so many people in the live webinar today. Right, so let me get this PowerPoint up. So today we're going to be talking about teaching adult learners. I'm going to talk a bit about some strategies. There's some different class types and also some of the best practices, some of the things that is expected to be a good TEFL teacher. If you agree or disagree, do please put it in the chat at any point. And as I said, any questions at all, get them in and I will get around to answering them. So first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about the different types of classes that there might be when you go to teach adult learners. So if you go abroad and work in a language school, for example, a private language school, they will probably do a mix of a few of these. Or you might go work at a university abroad where you just go and do one of those. You might go work as a freelancer somewhere. So you might be self-employed. I did that in Japan. Then you take on a few different classes. Or you might work online. And if you go work online, again, you might get any of these classes from a company that are giving you classes, giving you students, or you might find your own students in one of these types of niches. So the first one, which is probably the most widespread of all the places I've ever worked, I've always had one of these classes, is a general English class. So how that works is basically the students will come into the private language school. They will get level tested, beginner up to advanced or proficient level, and all the levels in between. Then they will come to you at, say, elementary class. Generally, you have a textbook, not always, but generally you have a textbook, and you do a little bit of listening, you do a little bit of reading, a little bit of writing, a little bit of speaking with them, do some vocabulary, do some grammar work, might do some cultural work. You're not really specializing on one thing. You're just sort of generally lifting their English level. And quite often, students will take one of these classes before they go into a more specialized class, such as an exam class. So as I said, I've taught in many places around the world, and every single place I've ever taught in has had some sort of general English class. Okay. The other type of classes which you might get in a language school is a conversation class. And this is basically just teaching speaking. So you might have sort of some grammar, which they then try and use into their speaking, or it could literally just be a class where they come in, they sit down in front of you and you have a bit of a chat with other people. You sort of try and improve their fluency. You might do some work on their pronunciation. But again, sometimes they're just drop-in classes where the students might just come in and just say, right, I'm going to sit down, let's talk for an hour. Again, this can be groups. So you might want to do something like have some discussion questions, which you put up on the board. You might give them out some text, which they then read, and then you have a discussion about it. There's lots of different ways of doing it. But here, there'd be hardly any writing. There'd probably be hardly any listening, maybe a little bit of reading, but lots and lots of speaking. Business English, this is popular around the world because language schools like to have business English classes because they tend to make more money out of these than they do out of general English classes. So they tend to work one of two ways. First way is you as the teacher get sort of sent to an office and you'll teach. It doesn't have to be, it could be a factory, could be lots of different sort of places, anywhere where anyone works. You get sent there. The students are in their workplace and you teach them some sort of business English that goes alongside what the company that they work for wants. So if it's a company that does sales, you might go in and teach the sales team some telephone English or some how to reply to sales inquiries via email, that kind of thing. The other way is you have like general business English classes where anyone could sign up, and you have maybe 10, 20 students, and you might have 2 that go work in one company, 2 that work in another company, and they just come and you just teach generally business English with no specific focus. Business vocabulary, you might do some business skills, but anyone can come to those classes. Next one is exam prep classes. So these tend to be for people that are going to go study abroad. Can also be for people that want to move abroad, because that's the main reason why students do take exam classes. You could teach anything. You could teach IELTS, you could teach Trinity, you could teach TOEIC, you could teach TOEFL. Does tend to depend on the location. So some countries have more of a link with an exam than others. And you would teach exam prep classes, how to pass those exams. Next one is academic English. This is really quite popular obviously in universities. So there you would be teaching aspects of academic English, such as how to reference, how to write bibliographies, but listening, how to take notes in lectures, reading, how to deal with the long reading lists you get at university, speaking, how to speak up in seminars, and also how to give presentations. These are also quite popular jobs within English-speaking countries. So I worked for many years at a university in England teaching academic English to lots of students that had come over, and before they start their undergraduate or their postgraduate degree, they spend a summer learning about academic English and how to live and work at universities. Then the last type, and there are other types, but generally these are the main ones, or the others fall under these categories, is specialized skills classes. So you might have a class where you teach presentation skills, for example. You might have a class where you're teaching listening skills. You might have a writing class just for academic writing. So within English, there's the 4 main skills, but then there's lots of sub skills underneath those, and you will be teaching specialized skills for that. All the hellos coming in. It's nice to see people all around the world. Hi, Tim in New York. Raminder's in London. Aisha, in Turkey. Hi, Chris is in St. Albans. Good to see Chris and David, who always tune in. Maria, hello, Madrid. Benidorm and Austria. We've got people all over the place. And Nigeria as well. Thank you for tuning in. Any questions, do put it in the chat. Right. So my first tip is to keep the classes interesting with adults. I have observed teachers before that think that because it's an adult class, it needs to be a little bit formal. It needs to be quite sort of regimented. It's not the case at all. You've got to really keep the classes interesting. And one way of doing this is to use a variety of different activities. So don't fall down the trap of worksheets all the time. Do different activities where they have to speak, activities where they have to write, do activities where they have to move around a bit, activities where they work with different partners or work in groups. All this kind of thing can be really, really good. So just be careful. If you're doing a lesson on present continuous, for example, don't just go with the first hit, and then download a worksheet and think that'll do. You go in present continuous. Look, can you do some sort of activities with miming? Can you do some sort of activities where you talk about diaries, this kind of thing? Use a variety of activities. Authentic materials with adults. Because of the internet, adults know when materials aren't particularly great, because they can type in and go on any website and they can find different news stories. So you also need to do that. So use authentic materials, use podcasts, use YouTube videos, use TED Talks, use readings that you've downloaded from real life websites. All this kind of thing keeps it really, really interesting and is really, really exciting for the students, basically. Don't be afraid to not use interactive technology. There's lots of different websites out there to help. So there's ways, for example, of using Google Classroom, where you can store the materials, you can store the students' work, this kind of thing. Flipped classrooms, all this kind of thing works really well with adults. It also helps. Adult classes can sometimes be not great in terms of attendance because they have their lives outside, they have jobs, they have families. And if you're using interactive technology, they can catch up on it. They can keep working even on times when they can't get to class. Adults love cultural insights. They love to hear about the different cultures of different countries. So if you're from the UK, do some UK culture, play some UK music, get some UK books, watch some UK television shows. But also, you know, think about showing some Australian ones, some American ones, all this kind of thing. They absolutely love. Keep it learner-centered, with adults. What does that mean? That means you're always thinking about them as individuals, basically. What do you need to do to improve their pronunciation, to improve their grammar, to improve their reading skills, whatever their problems can be? Keep it learner-centered. The focus shouldn't be on you. The focus should totally be on them within the class. And for a lot of students around the world, this is quite difficult. They've grown up through school where the focus is all on the teacher. And we want to make it so the focus is on the students. They're not afraid to ask questions. They're not afraid to question the teacher. All that sort of thing is really, really good and keeps it interesting for the adults. Error correct effectively with adults. Again, they would have maybe come from a school system in a big chunks of the world where they haven't been error corrected that much. They're sort of used to taking exams to show their English ability, which gets a tick or a cross on the answers. They're not used to being told this is what you need to do or that's what you need to do. Okay, so definitely error correct effectively. There's lots of different ways of error correcting. And it does change whether you error correct writing or you error correct speaking. But sort of a way to think about it is to do immediate error correction and to do delayed error correction. So immediate error correction is where you basically almost stop them instantly when they make a mistake. Delayed might be when you wait till the end of what they're saying and then you go and correct their mistakes. Or you might delay it by correcting the whole group at once instead of individuals. You'll find that some adults work better with immediate error correction and some work better with delayed error correction. I've had students before that have asked me to correct every single English mistake they make as they make them. That really can hurt their fluency. I don't like doing it. But if that's what they want and if that's what they feel is what you're there for, then go for it. Try to focus on meaningful errors. So if they have created a sentence and there's parts of it that you don't understand because the grammar's too bad, the spelling's too bad, or their pronunciation's too bad, you've got to correct the errors where you've lost understanding of what they're saying or doing. If, however, they have done something and there's lots of mistakes, but they're very, very tiny mistakes, and you still understand what they're saying, don't really think about error correcting the whole sentence, every single word. Focus on the ones that are most important. And that's important with adults because you don't want them to lose faith. You don't want them to be discouraged by the amount of errors they've got. So definitely try to focus on the meaningful errors. Encourage self-correction. Again, this is not something that they will be used to, but if they can have an inbuilt error correction in their mind, then that will help them long term when you're not there with them. So if they've made a mistake, just say to them something like, could you think that one through again? Or could you say that again and have a little think about the verbs? Encourage their self-correction. It's they do not have to be perfect. Me doing this webinar for the last 16 minutes, the amount of grammar mistakes I've made will be huge. They expect, for some reason, a lot of the times to be perfect when they're speaking in another language, when they're not perfect in their own language. Encouraging them to self-correct will help them long-term to improve. Don't be afraid to give them positive feedback. Again, they might have come from a school or a university where they got lots of red marks and the teachers just marked everything that's negative. Build up their confidence, use positive feedback to show them what they're doing well. Be culturally sensitive. If you're in business English, if you've got a class and there's 15 students and one of them's the boss, be really, really careful how you error correct the boss. Also, if you've got older students in some cultures, they don't like to be shown up in front of younger students. Think, is there a way that you can error correct them where they don't lose face? This is quite important with adults. Right, as a teacher, be adaptable. So try to resonate, first of all, with the students' lives. So you're go into the class, and if you're going to do a cultural lesson, get them to talk about the culture themselves. Get them to talk about their lives. Adapt the materials that you find online to the country you're going to the age of the people you're going to the business that you're going to. Adapt the materials will really make them talk more about themselves. And when people talk about themselves, they generally can speak more fluently. They can generally come up with better ideas. Be aware of different techniques and different learning styles. So we like here at the TEFL the communicative technique. That's where students talk things through, where students work in pairs. But there are lots of other different sort of techniques out there. And you might find that this one will work better with your students. Be adaptable with learning styles. So are your students more audible? Are they better through speaking? Are they better through looking at pictures? Do some students learn better through watching videos? All this kind of thing can help you improve their English and help them to get better. And a lot of students might not know that they're an audible learner or that they're a visual learner until you sort of explain to it a different way, or you play them something different, and you'll see their eyes light up because all of a sudden they know how to do something. Vary your speed. A lot of adults classes happen in the evenings after work, and quite often the students are a bit tired. I've done classes in Japan where I go through till 11 p.m. at night. You think they've done a whole day's work. They then come to your class. They might have had a problem at home with their family. The class needs to be up and down. Yeah. So you do some activities that are quite quick, some activities where they sort of take a little bit longer. This up and down pacing keeps them on their toes a bit and keeps them more alert. Change the level of your classes with adults. Quite often adults will say to you, oh, I'm an elementary learner, or I'm a pre-intermediate learner. Then you get in front of them and they're a class of intermediates, or the other way around. They come in ultra confident and actually they are a bit lower. Don't be afraid to, if you've been told they're an intermediate class, but you think some of them might be upper intermediate, throw in a couple of upper intermediate lessons, throw in some upper intermediate materials, push them a bit. Same if you've been told that they're intermediate, why not just do a little bit from the pre-intermediate book or something like that, just to lift them down a bit and to boost their confidence. Okay. I can see some really good questions, especially from David. Thank you very much. Do keep the questions coming in. I've got a couple more slides and I'll get around to them. Engagement and motivation for adults. Right. Adults, because they have busy lives a lot of the time, they want every lesson that they go to be relevant, especially if they're doing something like business English or they're doing something like exam classes. So make sure that all your materials are aware of this. Don't just think, okay, I'm going to play this nice song because I think it will work, they will enjoy it, if they're doing an exam English class. Because if you do a song activities, that might take 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes where they're not working towards their goal. And one-on-one students especially find that this is quite annoying. So make sure that every lesson you do is relevant. Use pair work and use group work consistently. don't let all the focus be on you. Okay. Just because they're adults, they can still work in groups. Yeah. Kids are sort of more used to working in groups, but adults, they can be put in 3s and 4s. That will help them. Make sure you consistently do it throughout every lesson. To keep them motivated, set achievable goals. So as I said on the slide before, make sure it's sort of level for them, the right level for them. Make sure that you're not setting them a goal that's too far ahead of them or too low below them. If they can see that they have improved a little bit every lesson, they tend to be quite happy. So one of the ways I like to do this is on the whiteboard. As they walk in, you write the goal of the lesson. Then at the end of the lesson, you can just tick it off and say, look, we've done this. Fantastic. Adults love personalized feedback. When I've managed schools, some of the complaints I've had from students is that they didn't spend enough time with the teacher. They felt like they could have had more one-on-one time with the teacher, which is really, really tricky in a class of 30 students. But if you give them personalized feedback, and technology can help with this, they feel like they have been listened to, and they feel like they are going to learn because they've got actual feedback from the teacher. So definitely try every occasion you can to give personalized feedback. Assessment is a big part of keeping up keeping their motivation going as well. Use a range of assessment tools. So don't just assess them on sort of speaking to them one-on-one. Get them to record themselves. Get them to upload it to a website, and you give them some feedback from that. You give them different grades on that. Writing, don't just make it short. Get them to type it. Use lots of different tools to help yourself there. ChatGPT is great for making assessments. When you've assessed them and you've said, okay, you've got problems with your pronunciation, give them a plan. So say, right, you need to go away, watch this video. You need to go and practice on this sound through using this textbook. All these kind of things. Don't just say to them, you've got bad pron. You've got to give them a plan on how to do it. Encourage them to reflect on their progress. So encourage them to think, okay, look, the last exam, I was really, really stressed. I didn't know what to do. This exam, I'm getting better. Okay. And also get them to set their future goals. So get them after you've been with them a while, or even after you've been with them a term, then say to them, okay, what do you want to learn next term? And they work towards that. And then you assess that. Also, what I should say is don't make all your assessment come from an end of term exam. Try and do some sort of continuous assessment where you're marking them every week so that they can show how much they're improving every week. They're not waiting till the end of term to decide whether they pass or failed. Right. Just some concluded final thoughts here. Different classes need different approaches. How you teach a business English class will be slightly different to how you teach a general English class. Not in terms of the wider methodology. You know, the communicative technique is still involved, but the types of materials you do, the way that you maybe speak to them, maybe the different types of assessment, all that thing can change. Content is key with adults. If it's a boring lesson that they don't think is relevant to them, through materials that they think are quite boring, they aren't going to want to engage with it. Error correct and give structured feedback. Adults love this. They love it in a nice way. They love it in a good way. They love it in a positive way. And they like getting feedback that goes beyond improve your grammar. They want feedback that talks about specifically how to improve and what they need to do. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Right, I'm going to get to some of these great questions now. Please, if you do have any more, or if you agree or disagree, or if you've got anything to us, it doesn't have to be about teaching adults, please do put it in the chat. David, hi. The UK Cultural Insights, have I ever used clips of the state opening the Parliament? Yep. Queen's, King's Christmas speech last night, the proms, PM's questions. Right, so this is quite a UK focused question here from David. So, yes, I have. So the problem with some of these is they're quite long. The state opening the parliament can take quite a long time. So what I have done is used videos. I think I got one originally from the Parliament website, the UK Parliament website, and that showed sort of the stages, that kind of thing. And yes, I have shown that, done some pre-teaching of some vocabulary or the stages, and then I've done questions where they have to answer as they go along and listen. I've not done the Queen's speech or the King's speech. That sounds like something good. Last night, the proms, not really my thing, but yes, I have done Prime Minister's questions. I did that with a legal English class once, and yeah, they quite enjoyed it. They quite often with these things, they like to just compare it. So Prime Minister's questions is quite a UK thing, and to compare that to other countries where they might not have anything where the Prime Minister has to stand up and be questioned so almost aggressively can be quite new to them. Those all sound lovely. And I think with certain groups, they will really, really enjoy that one, David. If anybody else has done anything like that, please do let us know. For a business in a hierarchical culture, do you end up tailoring your group lessons towards a boss? So no, you've got to tailor your lessons towards the aims of the class. So whatever the goal is, you tailor it towards that. How having a boss in the class quite often works is that they really don't like to be picked up on it. So if they don't know, for example, I remember having a class where the boss had the worst English in the class, but the rest of the students didn't want to speak until the boss had spoken. And some of them were sort of intermediate, almost upper intermediate level, whereas this guy was sort of elementary, pre-intermediate level. And I would ask a question out loud, and the students would not give me an answer because they were sort of just waiting for this boss to speak. So ways around that is you do group lessons, you do little group tasks first. You get round and ask them all. Don't give it an opportunity where they're waiting for one person to talk. Put them in groups and all that kind of thing. You've also got to be a bit careful of like opinions. If there's any sort of, some countries love it. They're happy to give their opinions in front of the bosses, but some countries, they don't enjoy giving their opinions in front of the boss. So if you're asking like opinions on business, opinions on politics, that kind of thing, you got to be careful if they want to actually say that out loud. And you've also got to be careful that they will always just agree with whatever the boss says, even if they don't agree. Yeah. Thank you. I can't see any more questions, which is a bit of a shame. I can't see any more. No, I can't. So look, thank you for tuning in. Use this video as a starting block for teaching adults. If you are going to go abroad, then start Googling the language schools that you're going to go to, because the language schools that you go to will have a timetable, they will have websites, and they will show the types of classes that they offer. And if you see a language school that has exam prep classes, if you've been offered the job, start to think about the different types of exam prep classes they offer. If you've not been offered the job yet, see if you can get into your interview the fact that you've seen, not directly seen it, but you can sort of get some bits in to show how you would help them with the classes that they offer. And then what you can do is then watch further videos like we've done, where I've done videos where I talk about exam prep classes, where I've talked about specialized skills classes, and just go from that basically. And be open to teaching lots of different classes with adults. Don't just think, okay, I really want to do exam classes, because you'll get work, but if you go abroad, you can't necessarily choose just to only teach exam prep classes. You've got to be open to a few of them. And having a good knowledge of the range of different adult classes makes you quite employable with different countries. And eventually, academic English is one of the more lucrative types of English to learn. And once you've got into that, that can give you quite well-paid jobs in universities around the world. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in. If you've got any more questions, do let us know by sending us a message or an email. You can go through our website, tefl.org. We also got a Facebook group where you can chat with other TEFL org students, and you can ask them some questions. We've got things like on our website, we've got things like podcasts, blog pages, all that kind of thing, which hopefully you might find interesting. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye.